Hello, everybody, and welcome to another daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby live on a Sunday. Yes, it's live for a change. I'm here, no pre-record, no cheat, no messing about. It's me in the flesh with the glasses in the carriage. Oh, and I've got the Sainsbury's bag behind me too. So, hope everyone's all right. Hope everyone's safe and well. Today in my area in the southeast, it has been roasting hot. And it still is now in this garage. I understand from some people it's been like that, but in other places it's been raining. I've just been talking to Ryan before we've gone on air, and he's shown me a picture of out of his window, and it's pissing down with rain, unbelievably. Now, tonight, Bloodnose says, Andy, you look tanned. Love Sainsbury's. Yeah, I do get it when I'm driving the cab, particularly on the arms. Tonight, we're going to be talking about universal basic income. That's a big thing in the news. It's something we all need to consider now as we move towards certain deadlines and certain dates in the not too distant future. So without further ado, I'd like to bring Ryan on, who you all know, Sanity Checkers. Here he is. Hello, Ryan. How are
you? Hello, everyone. How are we all doing?
Yeah, we are doing okay. We've got 59 people in the chat already, so everyone's jumping on this straight off. Quick few hellos. We've got our regulars, Bloodnose, Gary, Thornbury, WTF. I love screen names like that. Bernadette Brown, Laura Ray, Tanner Family Memories, Tanya Louise, Lucy Wallace, Oddity. Yeah, loads and loads and loads of our regulars. So hello to you all. Tonight, folks, Seth 78's in the house as well. Tonight, we are going to have a general discussion about this subject. We'll obviously come to the comments as well. And, I did a video a few days back on this subject as well. So we'll have a look at those. It's important. Now, I brought Ryan in, or we talked about doing a live stream because we think similar to on this subject. It's important and it needs to be discussed. Ryan, do you want to explain what UBI is in the unlikely event that people don't know?
Yeah, well, from what I gather, it's something that they are looking to trial, but with the intention of, looking at a way of everyone receiving a sort of a basic income, as it were, regardless of your employment status, regardless of how much you earn. There's not means tested, it's sort of a given. And I guess essentially allowing people to have a certain amount of money each month to, I guess, survive and pay for the essentials. And yeah, it's a kind of it seems like a very good deal. It seems very nice, doesn't it? Very, very inviting to think that could be an option for us all to essentially, and, you could potentially choose not to work. You could potentially say, well, I will just have the universal basic income. Thank you very much. And I think the trial they're doing, this 2-year trial that they're doing, I think there's 30 participants, and they are going to have a look at their well-being, their mental well-being, and their ethos to working. How it impacts their lives. And yeah, I just find the whole thing perplexing, really, but not surprising, because I think, as we've said off air, these things have been hinted at for some time. And I think for me personally, the World Economic Forum were kind of up in the sky looking down on us. But now it feels like they're a little bit lower, and they're starting to actually really kind of infiltrate into our day to day. It's not like kind of pretend stuff now. This is like real on the ground plans that are unrolling. And yeah, I think once it's on the ground rolling, it's very hard to stop sometimes.
Absolutely. Before we go any further, Absolutely Average, Russ is in the house. Thank you very much for the £4.99 super chat, and I know exactly what it's for.
Coffee o'clock.
Bit of a private running joke between Russ and I. We've met up a couple of times now, And when I met him in McDonald's up at Gatwick Airport, I turned around to him and said, I'm going to buy the coffees. I went up to the machine with my phone, unlocked it, and put it against the card reader, and my bloody phone didn't work properly. And before I could do anything, Russ jumped straight in, slid his phone over the card reader, paid for the coffees, and went, and he wasn't going to let me pay for anything. So then what happened when he did a live, I sent him a £5 super chat and said, I'm paying for the coffees. He's been threatening to send it straight back to me. And look what he's just done. So next time he does a live stream, I might send that fiver back. We're going to play tennis with a £5 note.
It's bouncing around.
Exactly. So
this is why cash is king, you see, Andy. This is why physical cash, that's the way. Because it's so easy just to swipe, isn't it? Swipe and go.
Absolutely. While we're on the subject of Russ as well, he's had a hell of a week. I'm not going to go into it because this isn't the time or the place, but he's had a hell of a week. If you haven't done so already, please go over and show your support for Russ. Subscribe to the channel, see what he does. He's done a lovely video tonight where he's gone for a walk in the country with his mother Hag, as he calls her. I've got a fly keeps buzzing around here, and you get to meet her as well. And
she seems like a lovely lady.
Certainly does. So go and support Russ. Other channel I want to give a shout out to before we carry on is Screwed Politics. I know he's in the house as well, getting very close to the 1,000 subscribers. So if we can give him a hand, give him a boost up as well, that will be good. Anyway, yes, universal basic income. As Ryan was just saying, the basic idea, basic income, is that everybody, regardless of status, regardless of situation and ability to work, gets a set amount of money every month. No strings attached. Now, speaking as a... Let's forget the theory for the moment. Speaking as a normal working man, I can't stand the idea because I probably work 60 or 70 hours a week, and I'm very proud of the work I put in and the reward I get out, the monetary reward, the satisfaction and everything else. It's good for the mental health. It's good for everything else. And I want to go to work. I want to provide for my family. Now, if somebody turns around and gives me £1,600 a month, one, I don't need it. Somebody else probably will need it a damn sight more than I do. Be very nice, don't get me wrong. But how much is it going to cost the economy? I mean, Lord Frost today, now if I find the figure here, tore it to pieces. And he reckons that to pull this off, it would cost the British economy £700 billion a year to actually fund this and support it. We will go down the Swanee. It's crazy. I mean, on a personal level, I know your circumstances are obviously different to mine because I drive a taxi, you play a piano and all the rest of it. What do you think of it on a personal level? How would it change your life? Would it make it worse? What would it do for you, Ryan?
Well, I mean, that kind of sum of money for me would probably allow me to live quite comfortably, to be honest. It's I think that's a decent amount of money. But I think the interesting thing that you mentioned and something I think is important is that people get a lot of satisfaction from working. Yes, working is hard, but there is a certain element of satisfaction. Now, I know this is only on a very small level, but like when I go out busking, I will earn not a huge amount of money, but there is something incredibly satisfying about taking that money and then going to the shop and buying food with it, because you feel like you have earned that, and you are and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel proud of yourself that you are going out and you are making this money. You are grafting for it, and you are getting that money through your hard work. If people are just given money, and I know Richard Vobes has talked about this, if you give people money, they're going to take their foot off the gas, and they're not going to feel like they're going to need to work so hard, and they're going to start relaxing and becoming complacent. And what's going to happen is complacency will gradually become habit. Habit will become laziness. And when these people that are giving you this money decide they're going to take some of it or not give you so much, you're going to find yourself really with no sense of kind of compass, no direction, no need or desire to do anything. And it's going to just lead to zombies, really, just people who are going to have no purpose in life. I know that there are people out there that do want to work hard and would continue to work hard with that money. But I think personally, if you start giving that money out to the general public, people are going to start taking their foot off the gas and are going to relax more and do less. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good for anyone.
No. Oddity is saying a few things which make a lot of sense. I heard it could be funded by the price on the automation, and there's a couple of other things, and it was saying furlough was a bit of a test as well.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
I think that this has been on the sneak for a long time. We've all heard of the term Great Reset. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I have done now. Slap myself on the wrist.
Yeah. The fourth industrial revolution.
Exactly. There's a list of things that I've seen which will happen in a particular order. Now, a few years ago, the GR, we will abbreviate it to, was nothing but a conspiracy theory. And some will tell you it still is. Now, when you look at this list of stuff, universal basic income is on that list of stuff. This is all pre-planned. It has been all along. And I said to my wife not so long ago, when you see the word universal basic income appear in the media, we're fucked, basically. And, this is starting to happen. They've trialled it in Wales. I haven't looked fully into the results of that or how that's going. They're looking at doing it. Is it in 2 areas here over the next couple of years?
I think it's 2 counties, yeah. And they've got 30, I think it's 30 participants over a 2-year period. And if you think about that, 2 years from now, that's going to take us towards 2026-ish. That still gives us a good 4 years before 2030 for things to be ironed out and systems to be in place. And I think by 2030, it's going to be there. Now, there's a word that I keep seeing a lot as well being mentioned regarding UBI, and that is necessity. People think it's going to become a necessity. And it's almost like saying, it's not our fault. It's got to happen. It's just got to happen. We have to accept that it's a necessity now. This is how it goes. And, that's a very good way of not taking any responsibility, by saying, well, it's just something we have to do. I'm afraid it's just the way it has to be. And of course, it doesn't have to be this way at all. But of course, the powers that be, want this, because I think, as I said before, I think once you start making people complacent, they're very malleable. Then you can really start to, like a puppet master, you can start to really get them to do what you want. And my fear is that people are going to be drooling at this money, and they're just going to walk straight into the trap, and that's it.
There's 2 contrasting comments that I want to put up here. This first one, my uncle Gary. Hi, Unc.
Yeah, I can't see the comments, just to let you know. So
can you see the highlighted one I've put up on the screen there?
Yes, I can see the highlighted.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull the highlighted ones up. My uncle worked all my life. Very simple statement. Since he was probably a teenager, I'm probably not far wrong. He's had the same job in the same factory for years and years and years and years and years. And it's a factory, basically, that deals with, I think it's metal plating and all that sort of thing, where you take an object and dunk it in this stuff and gold plate it or whatever. And he's held down the same job in the same place for, probably 40 odd years that I know of. And it's one of these that could effectively be automated in years to come, and they'll all be out of a job. Then what? Universal basic income? Oh, thank you very much. Alison Riley. Hi, Alison. Hope you're good. Very simple statement. I wish I could work. Now, there's lots of people out there like Alison who probably worked most of their life. And very hard and very proud of what they did. And because of a medical issue or a psychological issue or something, means they can't work any longer. There's loads of people out there like that.
Yeah.
They do need support. That's what we can't lose sight of. People like that do need support, but that does not mean give everybody throughout the country 1,600 quid a month every month. It don't make any sense. And like you very much correctly say, people will become reliant on it. They'll be drooling at the mouth, you know. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't have to go to work for 2 days next week. I'm getting 1,600 quid off the government, you know. And what really worries me about all this, and I think you've alluded to it as well, is the control. If you're getting that money off the government, they can take it off you just like that. Take
Yeah.
one step out of line, say the wrong thing, you're in trouble. That's where all this is heading. I don't know
And I
what you
think
think.
that what's going to happen, you see, is it's all going to get tied in with the digital ID, and everything will be linked, and they'll be able to obviously monitor what you're, you know, how much meat you're eating, how far you're traveling, probably your presence online, the kind of things that you're saying and doing. And I do feel that all of that is going to get tied in with this. And there will be a honeymoon period where it's great for a while, where people are getting this money and they get used to it. But I feel that they are going to gradually introduce caveats where there'll be certain conditions. You know, have you had a certain, you know, thing? And if not, we need to then look at capping what you get, or you don't get quite so much. Now, the other thing as well I wanted to mention, this is just like a theory I've got, but I feel that money and the concept of money is going to change. And I think that what's going to happen going forward is that we're going to work on a credit system. So instead of having pounds and pence, we're going to have credits. And I think eventually, yeah, what will happen is people will be assigned credits, and you'll have a value credit based on certain other characteristics of your life. And that's the way I see it, because they want to kind of get rid of money. They want to get rid of cash. They want to change to digitization. Why call it pounds and pence anymore? You might as well just get rid of currency and just have everyone on credits, these kind of credits. And that's the way I feel it's heading, as well, tied in. I wouldn't be surprised if one day we don't talk about pounds and pence anymore and we talk about credits. How many credits someone has in their account.
I totally agree with you. This is stuff of science fiction, isn't it? Almost. Somebody's mentioned Total Recall. Absolutely right.
Oh, great film. One of my favorite films, that is. Brilliant film.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Good choice. And self-driving taxis. That put me out of a job. Thank God for UBI.
That's it. Do you remember the creepy doll thing in the self-driving taxi in Total Recall?
Oh, yeah.
Scary. Scary. Don't ever become like that, Andy.
Yeah, I'll get the blue hat and the twisty motion.
That's it. Yeah. But no, I think that the AI side of things with automation, you know, they're pretty much telling us that this is the way it's going to be. That, you know, people are essentially going to be jobless, because there's going to be so much done now by robotics and AI. And this is where the necessity comes in. I mean, Elon Musk, whether you like him or loathe him, that's what he said, is that, you know, people are going to be out of jobs. Therefore, we're going to need, as a necessity, to provide them with money. But as you said, where on earth is this money coming from? How on earth do you sustain that?
It will break. It will break.
And I mean, you said how much it was for the year. Well, that's 1 year. I mean, how can you maintain that over people's lives? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
You don't. My mum makes a very valid point. Hi, Mum. Will the pensioners get this amount? I have to admit, I don't know the answer to that question with all confidence. Probably, probably, but.
And I was wondering as well whether they would get rid of all kind of everything else. You know, all of your other credit, like universal credit and your tax credits and all of that. I wonder whether that would all just completely disappear, and then this would be just the one credit, just one, a universal credit, and everything else just disappears. Whether that's what they're looking at.
You have to wonder, because there's something somebody said in the comments earlier. Oddity, I think it was. Again, thank you for that, Oddity. You look at the benefit system at the moment. You add housing benefit, council tax support, child tax credits, working tax credits, disability living. The list is endless. And what did they do with all of those benefits? Melded them all together into one universal credit payment. Gets us used to the idea, doesn't it? When you start looking into this, you start going off in little directions in your mind, thinking, "Oh, they've done this. Why is that?" It can lead you in all, different directions. I mean,
and on a larger scale, it's that whole one world government thing as well, isn't it? It's about then all of the governments, they're all working to the same script, and that eventually they're going to just meld together, and then suddenly everything is one, and then there's one ruler, and that's it. And
that's it.
Yeah,
exactly. But anyway, this is the daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby, everybody. On a Sunday, I'm here with Ryan, Sanity Checkers. Good to see everybody in the chat. We've got 119 in at the moment, so welcome everybody and thank you.
Hello, everyone.
If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button because it helps the algorithm. If we can get it up to 100 likes or more, the stream gets spread around a little bit more. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you're here for the first time, please consider doing so. Completely free of charge. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Ryan's channel as well, I've put a link in the description. Please go and give him a look up and subscribe as well. And Bloodnose, thank you, has just put a link to your channel in the chat. So
thank you very much, Bloodnose.
So that is excellent.
So I liked his comment a while back saying that we all need a bit of a sanity check at the moment, and I think that's definitely the case.
Well, it's like the thumbnail to this. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it and show everybody. I was in one of those moods where I thought maybe I need my sanity check, so that influenced my choice of design work.
I'm trying to remember what it was. Some clouds or something? Was there some clouds?
Yeah, here we are. I found it. Let me just pull this into the stream. There we go. Andy needs a sanity check. We talk UBI 11th of June at 9 p.m. Here we are. We need a cartoon version of you, Ryan, like mine, so we can.
I'll have to look. I'll have to look at doing that. I mean, anything's going to be better than the real deal.
Well, I wouldn't know. What I want to do now is play a video for you all, which is a few minutes long, and it's a very lively debate between Ben Habib and Atul Hatwell, whoever that is, and they talk about their opinions of UBI, and it gets a little bit heated. But let's see what they have to say, and it gives you differing views. So let's share the screen. Welcome to my Twitter account, everybody. Make sure we can see that all right. Right, I'm going to take Ryan and I out. We're still there, but we'll just make this full screen. Mute my mic.
The level of benefits. People on benefits are barely getting by. Food inflation's at 25%.
It's got to pay to work. We've broken the economy. Do you not realise that? People are not working because it doesn't pay to work. And you want to increase benefits. You want to close that gap. We have
unemployment. That's amongst the lowest levels.
Because unemployment only measures
1 million vacancies in the economy.
Unemployment only measures those people who are looking for work. We've got a record 5.9 million people on universal credit.
And we have a problem where we've got people who are out of the workforce because they've got illnesses, they've got long-term issues, and that needs to be addressed.
It's a benefit. It's a net benefit versus net pay problem.
It's just about incentives and cutting benefits will get people back to work, then you fly in the face of all of the evidence, and it's palpably absurd. We've got some of the lowest unemployment.
I'm afraid this is the most absurd debate I've ever had on the economy.
Let me ask you a simple question. If someone cannot physically work, then fair enough. There's a welfare state to provide and protect those people. No one would dispute that. If somebody can, so that you're physically able to work, so you're fit and healthy, you don't have caring responsibilities, you can work, but you choose not to. Do you think you should be able to choose then to live on benefits?
No, of course not.
So you would
not only should there be an assumption of work if you can, but also when people are in work, work should pay. That means a higher minimum wage. That means tax credits as well. We've got to make it easier to get into work without penalties.
More burden on business, more inflation, more need to print money, more socialism, and a complete collapse of the economy.
Inflation is driven by constrained supply, and one of the greatest supply constraints we're facing in this country are labour shortages.
Because people are sitting at home taking benefits, not getting into work because taxes are too high. And taxes are too high because they're paying for the nanny state.
You can have your opinion. But
no, it's a fact.
And you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to fake facts. And the evidence does not bear that out.
At all. National debt, all-time high. Taxes, all-time high. Number of people out of full-time work, all-time high.
We don't have an unemployment problem in this country at the moment. We are operating this economy at, and it's a Conservative government that is operating at full employment. The quality of work isn't right.
It's not full employment.
We have too many people who are economically inactive. But to say that just cutting benefits will incentivize people by chucking people out on the street.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
Performative cruelty will make people work. I think is ridiculous.
To pay people for doing square root of nothing, as expressed by Michelle, is utterly mad. I've never heard. When I read this policy for the first time, I had to blink 4 times to get my head around what this complete nonsense of a policy was trying to promote. It is socialism gone utterly lunatic. It will break this country. We're already on the edge of financial collapse.
You're disagreeing with the principle of the welfare state and the principle that if you cannot work or that whilst you're between jobs, you need support. That is a completely different disagreement to something around the mechanics of a universal basic income, where actually I said I'm sceptical, but the argument you're mounting is about the welfare state. And if people in this country, if you don't think we should have a welfare state, that's fine. Don't use the cover of a universal basic income to make that argument.
The argument I'm mounting is the inverse of what you're saying I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to cut taxes to incentivize people to get into work so that it pays to work. When they get into work, there'll be bigger tax take. There will be bigger tax take. There will be a bigger tax take, and there will be less need for government to fund benefits. That's the point.
That was good.
Quite lively. I've actually been in a room where Ben Habib has been delivering a speech where the predecessor to the Reform Party, well, it was a Brexit party, wasn't it, going around everywhere, and he actually came to one of the hotels in my area. So he certainly knows how to put his point across, that gentleman. Before we go any further, Derek Fortune keeps popping up in the chat saying, hello, look at me, hello. Hi, Derek, hope you're well.
Hello, Derek Fortune. Derek Fortune, you are coming in live.
Exactly. Yeah, Ben Habib, I tend to lean towards his opinion in that what is going to happen to the economy if this is allowed to go through. It will break it. No two ways about it. And you've got to have an incentive to go to work. I mean, you look at the problem we have at the moment. You take the spud fields and all that sort of thing. We're having complaints that our spuds aren't getting picked because, where's the incentive for our own people to go and work? I did it when I was a kid. I went down there and did it. No problem at all. But they don't seem to want to do it anymore. There's no incentive.
And that's an interesting point, actually, when I was watching that video just then, it reminded me of a video that I did myself ages ago. And I was comparing, which would be better and more efficient workers out of, say, AI and our current generation. And I feel personally that over the last few years in particular, it's almost like they've wanted to dumb people down to the point where if you get people so dumb, now a generation that is so apathetic to anything, what you're doing is you're breeding a generation of people who don't really want to do it. They don't want to work. And that's perfect then, because you've got people who don't want to work. And then it's much easier to roll out a scheme such as this because you know that you're going to have lots of people, lots of takers. And I do worry about the younger generations. Even my son, I know we've got sons of the same age. And, I think to myself, what exactly is going to be available to my son when he's older? And also, what kind of work ethos will he have? Obviously, we can try and instill that into him. But just his surroundings and the generation that he is within, I just worry that they're just going to be zombies. They're just going to be like just mindless, distracted zombies living in the metaverse, pretty much just living in their bubble,
totally
taking them the money. And I don't know, it feels so crazy to think that this is happening, and the potential for it to happen is there.
Do you know the reason I work as hard as I do, apart from the obvious? It's to set an example for my kids. They see me leave the house in the morning and I go and do what I do. And I want my kids to look at me doing that and think, that's what I do. That's what I have to do. And they go, I look at Jack. I mean, my eldest lad, he's 19, so he's a little bit older. But I look at Jack, who's a decade younger. And I think I'm doing what I do. But then when you get to my age, it's not going to be the same world anymore. So what?
No.
You know.
And I try and do the same. Well, the one thing with my son is that, you know, and I've said this, you know, to people before, that, you know, me and his mum are separated, but we're on good terms. But her and his grandparents are very much in the kind of head in the clouds world. And I'm trying my best to say to my son, you know, I'm not trying to burden him, but I just want him to be a critical thinker to the point where, you know, he is going to be an adult one day in this crazy world, and I just want him to go in and have at least his eyes open so that he can at least try and navigate, because it's not going to be a case of just, oh, leave school, get a job, like we've done for years and years. It's going to be, well, what are you leaving and what are you going into? You know, universities don't hold any kind of prestige anymore, because they seem to be the bubbling ground for indoctrination of these kind of wacky ideas that are dumbing down the generation. I mean, critical thinking, I would say, is getting worse with people going to university. They're just being fed this stuff. And so, yeah, for my son, I've just tried to gently give him little kind of guidance, you know, about things, and hope that will set him off in the right direction. But it's scary, isn't it? You know, and I totally empathize with you, you know, trying to get him, you know, set up and, you know, prepared for life. But life is going to be, you know, quite different, isn't it? When
that's right.
Another 10 years, really, isn't it, until they're, you know, sort of towards 20. So
I mean, Ben Habib was saying incentivize work, get more people into work. But what they tend to forget is there are people that have work that can't anymore. No, you know, they shouldn't be forgotten. And that's what we have to remember in all this. They shouldn't be forgotten. They do need genuine support, but not this. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you talk about education. I remember walking around the school and looking at a display chart they had about a particular subject. And I was looking at the order in which the displays were. In other words, when the child walked in the room, the order in which they'd come across these various things. And it just struck me that that's their order of importance. And what I would consider important to this country and my son's education was right down the other end of the room, like stuck in a corner. And I do worry what they're being taught. So you do have to try and gently nudge them yourself in the right direction. I mean, you look at you and I, Ryan, we're of a similar age. I think I'm a little bit older than you by 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, not much in it.
Not much. But our parents are kind of the last link between this generation and the last generation that thought very differently and had a different outlook on life and the way things are supposed to be. And you know, that will gradually get diluted as we go. And you got the likes of you and me kicking and screaming and hundreds of others out there. How long is it before that voice disappears? Because they're damn well trying to beat it down. They really are. And all we can do. But that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, once our parents' ages, you know, once they've gone and once we have kind of reached our twilight years, what comes up beneath that is going to be a generation that is going to be just of this moment of what we're experiencing now, and that's what worries me. I just think to myself, well, there's still some of us who've got that critical thought to think this isn't right or to question things, but how many, when you look at these youngsters coming out of university now, how many of them are interested in this, or are they more interested in just getting their eating their kale and getting their Starbucks and protecting the environment and just kind of absorbed in these kind of this propaganda that is fed to them? And it is scary, and I don't know what's gonna happen. But I will keep kicking and screaming until my dying days.
That's all we can do, absolutely, and find ways around it. I mean, university, divert from this subject, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody now. You go to university for 3-4 years and leave with £20,000 worth of debt. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Is that by design? Who knows? It's another thing to think about.
Yeah, I'd like my son to get into some kind of vocation as soon as he can and get his feet into a job of some kind as soon as possible. Because I think the whole university thing really now, once they all come out, they're all fighting over jobs that don't really exist. So you might as well just get out and just get into a job and do something as soon as you can, really. But yeah,
absolutely, an apprenticeship or vocation or anything like that. But there was a comment in here I just want to find. Yeah, there we go. UBI was tested for over a year in Sweden. They had to scrap it. All right, that's one example of where they have tried it. Before we did this live, I looked at other areas that may have tried this or may have gone through it. Obviously, we've got the example of Sweden there. I found this video to do with Finland because I tried it there as well with mixed results. And see what you think of this. Again, this is a few minutes long. Yeah, now this happened in 2017 to 2018.
The world's first statutory, randomized and nationwide basic income experiment was conducted in Finland in 2017-2018. During the experiment, a total of 2,000 randomly selected unemployed persons were paid a monthly tax-exempt basic income of €560, regardless of any other income they may have had or whether they were actively looking for work. The experiment's purpose was to find ways to reshape Finland's social security system in response to changes in the labour market. The effects of the basic income experiment were studied through an evaluation study. It consisted of register data analysis, a survey study, interviews with 81 participants, a media survey and a poll. During the second year of the experiment, basic income recipients were slightly better at finding employment than those in the control group. However, the activation model for unemployed security, which was implemented in early 2018, makes it difficult to evaluate the effects. It's impossible to separate the effects of this experiment from those of the activation model. The experiment provided a stronger incentive to work, but its effects on employment were still minor. The results show that many factors other than just financial incentives have an effect on employment. At the end of the experiment, the recipients who responded to the survey had fewer health issues, fewer experiences with bureaucracy, and better financial well-being than the people in the control group. They experienced fewer issues relating to mental stress, depression, melancholy, and loneliness. They also estimated that their functional ability was better. Also, compared to the control group, the recipients of the basic income felt that their financial situation and their ability to influence it was better. In addition to that, their trust in other people and different institutions was higher, and they were more confident in their own future and their ability to influence societal issues. Different local and regional basic income experiments in other countries have yielded similar results. The interviews reveal the diversity of the basic income experiment's effects. Some interviewees said that the experiment had a significant positive effect on their employment, while others described the effects as minor. Also, the interviewees' different backgrounds had an effect on employment. For some, the experiment provided new possibilities to be a part of society, for example through voluntary work or informal care. Many said that basic income increased their feeling of autonomy. Although the descriptions of the effects of the basic income experiment were mostly quite positive, some felt more pressure to find employment and had issues with their mental well-being. All in all, the basic income experiment was carried out successfully, and it provided new data that can be used when reshaping the social security system. The experiment provided new information about the effects of basic income that wouldn't be available without this experiment.
What do you make of that?
Well, the key word is experiment. I mean, it's all fair and well, having these experiments, but it's that whole cotton candy world. It's this idea that we can, this can be some kind of utopia. It just doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that, because corruption will be somewhere. There will always be a corrupt element to anything that happens. And like it was saying in the video, like having more trust and things, in institutions and things. Well, I think trust would be worse. I think, and as I said to you before, there'll be a honeymoon period. There'll be a period of time where it feels great, and it's like, wow, this really works. But you can't sustain that
No.
without having some massive without people having to give something up, i.e. freedom and their ability to move freely and do things freely. And the other thing as well, I mean, I won't go down the rabbit hole, but there's quite a lot more people that seem to be unable to work at the moment due to having medical issues. It's almost like they want to try and set as much in action to prevent people from actually going out and working, as another way of keeping them, under the thumb and needing bailing out with all this money. And yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to actually verbally say it, but look what Subdue Light says in that comment there that I've highlighted.
Well, he's hit the nail on the head. Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it's going to be. And it won't be like that maybe initially. It won't be like, they won't do it in a big way like that. It'll be drip fed in very small increments. And like I said to you before, we'll get to a point where money isn't really a thing anymore. It will be kind of, everyone will just have credits. You'll have a credit account, so you'll get 1,600 credits a month. But as he said, or as they said, there might be things where your credits get reduced based on certain things that you have not done. And that's it then. It's game over then. Once we get to that point, people will just be slaves then. So,
well, they introduce a word within the benefits system, probably to get you used to that. Sanction.
Yeah.
You've been sanctioned. Tony Whitworth, Aldi's in London. In order to enter the store, you have to download an app and scan a QR code. Resist the BS, resist digital ID, resist app-based everything, be pro-human. I've got a video coming out about that tomorrow morning, actually, Tony, so stay tuned. And I've got the actual video footage that somebody sent me where you walk in the place. It's a bit disturbing. You can actually find it on Twitter. Reform BBC, going to be worse when AI and robots take over 30 grand to pay back, which never do it. It's a joke. Best getting a skilled job like building trade best. We need to build more homes. I'll tell you what I've noticed about new home building lately. And
that's a good point.
Maybe I'm standing on the edge of the rabbit hole. You get all of these estates. We'll call them housing estates because that's effectively what they are. Blocks of houses being put up here, there and everywhere. And I drove past one the other day and I looked at it and I thought, You know what? That is about a 15-minute walk from all the shops over there. And then I drove down the road another day and I looked and I thought, there's a post office, a pub and a superstore about 10 minutes that way. And I thought, shared ownership, incentives to actually go and live in one of these rabbit hutch-sized houses. There's something going on with that as well.
And I think longer term, they have been taking these very small places, villages and towns, and providing everything that you need, over a long period of time. There's, most little villages now will have everything you need. Most people don't really need to go into a big town or a big city anymore because they've got pretty much a supermarket. Even if it's just a co-op or a Lidl or something, they'll be somewhere. And I said to you, I mean, there's housing built near where I live, and they're stone's throw from the supermarket, stone's throw from the school, and garages, for petrol. I mean, it's all there, really.
Absolutely. We've got 140 in the chat, Ryan. That's a good number.
Hello.
Hello to everybody. Thank you for joining us, where we talk about universal basic income and a few other little diversions here and there. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button on the chat. That helps the algorithm push it all around YouTube. I appreciate that. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to Ryan's. You can find all the links in the description and all around here. Completely free to do, no obligation. And it helps Ryan and I get this information out where it needs to go. Very much appreciated. David L says, I've pressed. Thank you very much. And to you and to everybody else that has. There's another little video piece I want to play. And then I think we'll look at some of the things that people are saying. And it was Nick Ferrari, and he had somebody on talking about how this is actually going to work. This trial, this 2-year trial that they're doing, how it's actually going to work. And he got absolutely eviscerated. So let me just get this up. Present. Ugh, you get rid of him. That's Lord Frost. He tore it to pieces. Let me just load this bit.
Oh, yes, I saw this.
Yeah, looks like a bright fella, doesn't he?
Yeah, straight out of university.
Absolutely. Right, let's just mute me so you don't get the double sound.
What are the indicators you and your colleagues will be looking at the end of it, Jack? How will you gauge whether it's been a success?
So it'll be quite a wide range of factors. So on the one hand, we'll be interested in things like employment, to see people.
Well, you can't get a job, can you?
Pardon?
I thought you're not allowed to take a job for those 2 years, are you?
No, of course you're. Yeah, you're allowed to work. So
how would that be funded?
I mean, there's plenty of research already that puts forward different options for funding. So, for instance, a think tank, Compass, has already modelled one form of more modest basic income, which could actually be rolled out at net zero cost, but would still see poverty drastically shrink. Yeah, that's one of the effects we've seen in lots of these trials. Is poverty is drastically shrunk.
Jack, of course, poverty will shrink because you're giving people 20 grand a year.
Yeah, he sold that well, didn't he?
The thing is, it's all just words. It's all just flouncy words. There's no substance. There's no rationale. There's no thinking behind it. And you can see that, like a deck of cards, it flattens at the slightest scrutiny. And it just, the guy doesn't know how it's going to work and how it's going to be paid. A whippersnapper, someone who's come out of university thinking that he can make this a utopian society, and life doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that.
There's another one, Deborah Hart, crap. Love it.
Exactly.
David L, laugh. It's all the same, Let's have a look at some of the comments.
But our generation and older generations can probably see through that, but are the younger generation growing up, are they going to be able to see through that kind of spiel? That's the thing. Are they going to be able to critically think, hang on, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about? Or are they going to just be, confined?
I very much suspect school kids today won't even know what critical thinking means, let alone how to practice it. It's a generational thing. This stops when the next generation coming through realise what's going on. And whether it takes the generation our kids are or the one after that, it's the long game, as some people say it.
Yeah.
But, oddity, people who don't want to use digital cash say they will use shops that accept physical cash. Okay, so what do they do with the physical cash, as no bank would take it, no electricity or water company would?
Yeah, well, I still think that just in order for that to work, I think cash almost has to be, the concept of money has to be eroded to a point where it just doesn't exist anymore, and it's replaced with just something completely new, so that cash, we just don't even think of cash in the same way anymore. We don't hold physical cash so much these days because everything's on our card. I mean, I was out with my son the other day and I had some cash on me. And I said to him, God, you know what? I feel like I own this. This is, no one can take this away from me. It's in my pocket. And I thought, wow, it's been a while since I felt like that, because I'm so used to, it being all digital, and you actually don't own. It doesn't feel like you own anything, does it? It just feels like you're just sending binary digits across, the ether. So
that's right. I mean, you probably won't see it too well. I have a thing on my mobile phone there.
That looks like my bank account.
£0. Yeah, it's my bank balance. It's the facility for me to be able to take card payments.
Yeah.
And years ago, that was unheard of with taxi drivers. And I blame 2020 to 2022 for that. People were just so put off money. We want a paper card. We want a paper card. I probably take literally thousands of pounds of card payments every year rather than cash. And I have to sit there at the end of every day going, right, 150 quid for that driver, 130 quid, because people just want to pay everything by card. Alison makes a point. Do alcoholics still get their payments each month for their alcohol? This used to be something else the DWP wasted their money on, says me having a glass of wine. You naughty girl. I'm only jealous. It's a good point. I mean, they're saying £1,600 a month, aren't they? No questions asked. And they probably don't care how the money's spent once they give it to you. And a lot of people, there's that damn fly again, a lot of people are going to get caught out by this. And we're going to see some poverty, I think.
And the thing, the thing I don't understand as well is the whole tax side of things, because the way things work, people go to work and we pay taxes from our earnings. But if you have people who are getting this money and they decide that they're not going to work, who's putting money into the tax pot? Where's that tax coming from then? Or because I'm assuming this £1,600 is not taxable. I mean, is it just a lump sum that you get, and there's nothing taken from it in terms of tax contributions, or is, I don't know.
Is it considered a benefit, or is it considered an income, or is it considered a payment in kind? How will they classify it?
I mean, they're calling it universal basic income, so I don't know whether that's a clue, but it's just, if you've got a significant number of people choosing not to work or not to work as much, then they're not going to be paying into the tax system so much. So therefore, I don't understand how the sums add up then. I don't quite understand where that money comes from if it's not coming from a pot of tax money, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know how it all works.
P. Parker, I nearly always pay by cash depending on the cost. I used to know this guy, Mickey's name was, he's passed away a few years ago now, but he would always walk around the town and he'd have a monkey in his pocket. Not a monkey that goes and eats bananas, 500 quid. And he would pay for everything with this 500 quid. electricity, gas, everything. And if he couldn't pay by cash, he just, you know, go away, don't want to know you. Very, very old-fashioned like that. And, you know, it's going to be more and more difficult.
Well, I remember the good old days. You know, when I was in my 20s, I used to go out around the town in the pubs and the clubs. And I don't know if you ever remember or if this ever happened, but sometimes you would go out into the pubs and clubs and it would be embarrassing for someone to go up and order drinks with a card and not with cash. It would just be like, who's this posh idiot going up with his card? Get some cash on you, will you? And of course, now it's completely flip-flop the other way now. You know, you go up and pay for a pint with cash and people look at you as though you've got leprosy or something.
Yeah. I don't know if you did it in the bars up your way, but where you go into a crowded pub, you'd stand there and you hold 10 quid in your hand. And just look at the bar person, be it barmaid or barman, and come and serve me a drink. And they'd work down the line. But I wonder now, if you stood there and held a £10 note out and looked, they'd probably only get you one drink with today's prices, by the way.
Yeah.
How many debit cards there'd be, and how many pound notes there would be? By the way, when you were in your 20s, how much did a pint cost?
Well, for the cheaper pints, you know, like your Fosters and things like that, you could probably get it for about £1.80 or £2. For the more luxurious, like your Kronenbergs and Stella, maybe £2.40, £2.50. I don't even know what the cost of a pint is now. I don't know what you would pay. I mean, it's got to be at least £3 to £4 now, maybe, for a pint.
Yeah, well, I've seen it 5 or 6 quid in some places around
my
area. I went to a party with Dawn a while back, my wife obviously, and a glass of wine and a pint of Foster's cheap lager. I didn't get a lot of change out of, I think it was 10 quid. And in fact, I don't think I got any change. It was like £10 for 2 drinks. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I could go out on a Saturday night in my 20s with 20 quid in my pocket, and I could quite happily get a few pints and shots in and have a pretty decent time. Imagine 20 quid now. I'd get you a couple of drinks and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
There you go. Surf in the mid-90s. Some bars were doing £1 a pint.
Yeah,
I remember that. Or bog off, buy one get one free.
Yeah, I remember all those days. They were great. They were great times.
Yeah. Screw politics. I blame Ken Dodd and the other rich folk who kept their money in the loft and under the bed. Before that, a little bit of tax avoidance wasn't frowned upon. Absolutely.
Well, my mum's she remarried later in life, and he's passed away now. But he was of the generation where he would have money just stowed away under the in the sofa, tucked away. I mean, when he died, my mum found like about £500 worth of notes. They were all old £5 notes that were just stuffed away somewhere. You know, just just a whole different kind of world, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways I save is Pringles tin. I put £2 coins in a Pringles tin. I don't know if you realise this, but when you fill it up, you got 500 quid in a Pringles tin.
Yeah, that's a really good way to do it. Absolutely.
Julie has just sent me a link to something to do with Richard Tice, and it's playing me a Google advert.
I think I saw. I think I know the clip she's referring to.
Yeah.
I don't think the guy realised that Richard Tice was being condescending to him. I don't think he could even understand that.
Right. I'm just going to play a short bit of it, and I'll put a link in the description because it's like 20 minutes long. We're not going to play a 20-minute video, but it's just to give people the idea. Present. Share screen. There he is. I have to see if we can arrange a chat with him. We got Howard Cox on, didn't we?
Yeah.
Michael, a very good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. So this was quite a significant shift of language from the Shadow Chancellor on Friday morning. It sort of slightly got lost in amongst all the other noise from the Conservatives. But What's your understanding of what's gone on in the Labour Party to make this, to row back from this previous investment pledge? I mean, some people are describing it as a flip-flop.
Well, you can understand why opponents of Labour are trying to characterise it that way, but it isn't. So Labour is still committed to a very large investment programme in green jobs, green technologies, renewable energy, electric vehicles, and so on. So what Rachel Reeves has announced is that it won't be a spending plan which has £28 billion per year, but we'll get to £28 billion per year over the course of a parliament. So what would have been, let's say, 28 times 4 years of a parliament, 112 billion, might now be 80 to 90 billion. So that's still a very, very large commitment, which is indicative of Labour's commitment to tackle climate change, get to net zero, a legal obligation on the British government, adopted by the Conservatives, of course. But the really important thing to say is, why has this happened? It's nothing to do with the Labour Party. It's all to do with this mismanagement of the economy by the Conservative government. When Rachel Reeves first made this pledge, only 2 years ago, September 2021, it cost the government 1% to borrow money from the gilt markets. It now costs 4%. So it's not the same pledge to say we'll borrow 28 billion today.
Of course.
It's not the same thing as to say it will what it was 2 years ago. And that's not because of anything that's happened in Labour. It's because the Conservatives have so mismanaged the economy that it's now
in fairness, actually, Michael, interest rates across the Western world have all increased. They've increased in the Eurozone.
Yes, but that's why the change has been made. It's entirely about the fiscal rules which Labour has and how much spending it's willing to do in relation to its fiscal rules.
So you don't think that it's... So what's going on in the EU? Because there's quite a lot of adjustment going on within certain nations within the EU. We've got a number of them, Italy in particular, and also Germany and France, getting very concerned about the impact of the ban on internal combustion engine cars, looking to delay that, looking to allow it for e-fuels. It seems to me that there's quite a sort of a deferral process going on of various conditions and constraints within the EU, and yet we're ploughing on regardless with, as you say, that legal commitment.
Well, I don't agree with you at all. Ursula von der Leyen has announced that Europe will be not just committed to the same 55% reduction by 2030 and then net zero by 2050 that the UK is, but that she will now have, in the European Union, a green industrial plan to match the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act, which famously is providing a huge degree of subsidy to industries to invest in green technologies. And the European Union is going down that route because it needs to compete with the US. We're in a new world in which China is pushing ahead with its technological development. It is supplying much of the world's solar power, for example, and the United States has smelt the coffee, if you like, in your phrase, has realized that unless they get onto this net zero bandwagon, the jobs will all be in China and elsewhere.
But in reality, Michael...
Let me just finish. America said we need the jobs at home, and now the European Union is going to do that. And frankly, if we are not very quickly onto this, we are going to be falling behind. So the question is whether the UK can keep up with the EU...
I've had enough of him. I don't know about you.
I've had enough of this net zero business. It's, you know, it's just frustrating, you know.
If you look at other countries in the world, China, India, and all that sort of thing, and then they're trying to ram it down our throats. We're probably the best behaved out of all of the countries. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I've left a link in the feed for anybody that wants to watch that whole thing, but I think Tice gave him a good sorting out, didn't he? I get that impression. Where are we? Yeah, got a few more people coming in. Somebody's just mentioned about Nicola Sturgeon getting arrested. Hang on, don't all applaud at once, please. Yes, she was arrested, but she got released without charge, pending further investigation. So, if anything,
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. She was never going to be in there for long, was she?
No.
Jeanette McCranky, but we'll, keep an eye on that. And if anything else comes up, we'll see what happens.
I think she must have been subscribed to my channel, you know, because I did my little video about her earlier, my little parody, and someone unsubscribed straight away. So I'm assuming it was Nicola.
Yes. that reminds me. Let's end the show with that, shall we? Because that did make me laugh. I noticed as well when checking, we've got over 100 likes. I mean, about 115, 120 likes tonight. So thank you very much, everybody, for that. As I said, don't forget to subscribe to Ryan and also myself as well, if you haven't done so already. And yes, let's end with a little parody.
I apologize in advance.
Copy the link. Stick it up there. Just let the advert play.
But yeah, I think this whole UBI thing though is there's going to be a lot more unfolds over time, and I think we just have to keep our eyes peeled on what's happening, and just be alert to everything that they're putting out. Really,
absolutely. Here we go. Yes, Ryan likes to do parodies every now and again. He did one on Gordon the Gopher.
I always wanted to be a comedian, so indulge me.
Well, Karen McCrankshaft has been arrested, and I have an exclusive interview with the person in question, and perhaps maybe she can shed some light on this horrible, horrible affair and put our minds to rest about all the corruption and the sleaze and the missing money, because that's what we want to know. Where did the money go? So let's give her a quick call. So, Karen McCrankshaft, as you are aware, you've been arrested, and we would like to know what you have to say for yourself, and in particular, why? Why did you do this?
This is a great travesty. All I wanted to do was ruin the lives of Scotland, and now that has been scuppered. I really needed that motorhome so I could plot my nefarious crimes, and I would have got away with it had it not been for all those meddling kids.
Well, there you are, folks. You heard it here first. Could this be the end of Karen McCrankshaft? We'll have just to follow the news to see what happens, and I will report on my findings. Take care.
I've heard her called some things in my time, but Karen McCrankshaft, oh my God.
She goes by many names.
Definitely. Right, folks. I want to wrap things up. We're at about an hour and 8 minutes. I want to thank everybody for coming along this evening. And it's been great to have you all. Thank you very much for the support. We had some good numbers, some good comments. Last words, Ryan. What would you like to finish with?
Well, I think just a case of keeping your mind open at all times. I think a lot of people on this channel and my channel are open-minded. So I think we just have to keep our minds open and keep supporting each other, I guess, and keep talking to each other and sharing this stuff, because there's still a lot of people out there who have no idea even who the World Economic Forum are, and that's terrifying. So I think we just got to keep talking, sharing, and hopefully we can do something for our children and grandchildren and things like that, and make a bit of a difference. I think that's my bottom line, really.
I totally agree with you. And, I get sent information on a daily basis and, stuff I find out as well. And we just keep pumping it over the airwaves and just try and educate people. Well, a lot of people are awake already. People keep nudging me and telling me to wake up. So, there's some pretty clever people out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, that's it for tonight. Ryan, if you can stay online once we've ended.
Will do.
There'll be more content out tomorrow from me from 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sure Ryan will have some stuff to go out as well on his channel, so go and check that out. We'll be live again next Sunday. I don't know whether it will be me or me Todd, or it will be with somebody else. I don't know yet, but we'll see what happens, and I'll announce that in the week. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening, be it hot, cold, or indifferent. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.